Ultramite. Thanks for joining. We're going to start here in 2 minutes. 2 minutes. It's that time to start up the stream. Whiskey Wednesday tonight. And we're back again to provide you with some, chill vibes, hopefully, and some good stories, right? Sit back, relax, enjoy a beverage. Doesn't have to be whiskey. I mean, it's Whiskey Wednesday, but doesn't have to be whiskey. It could be the H to the 2 to the O, right? Could be some hot chocolate. It's not the point. Sit back, relax, enjoy some good stories. I get to share some good stories with you, and you get to sit back, relax, and listen to them, right? That's what it's all about. Those brave authors taking a chance and submitting their first chapters or so to be read on live stream for you. And then if you'd like to pick up a copy, I always leave you a way to do that as well. So for Instagram, since you don't get all the special jazzy, cooly stuff that YouTube and YouTube and Twitch get, I'll go ahead and I'll post this stuff in here for you this way. And I think there's a character limit on Instagram, which is unfortunate, but we'll roll with it, right? So if, while listening to the book, you'd like to check out the author and a little bit more about them, you can do that right there at that website. And you can do that right there and pick up their book if you're so inclined, if you like what you hear. So, all right, let's get this thing rolling. Oh, Sean Pratt Presents. How's it going? If you're looking, and this isn't scripted at all, and he might hate this, but I'm going for it anyways. If you're looking for some audiobook coaching, Sean Pratt Presents. Recommend you go there. That's where I learned pretty much everything. And it's one of those things too, you go through the coaching, and in the back of your mind sometimes there's I'm never going to use this. And every time I have thought that, I've been proven wrong and had to use it. So I'm just saying, go to Sean Pratt Presents, sign up, get some coaching, and listen. Take notes. Don't forget to record. You'll use it, I promise. There's a plug. I know you didn't, probably want it, but it's there. Anyways, tonight, what are we reading? So if you're looking down at the bottom of the screen there, I'm going to be reading A Discovery of Talents by Phoenix McDonald. And for YouTube and Twitch, I'll just post that information in there for you as well, so you can pick up a copy if you like what you hear. And a little bit about the author and a little bit about the book. So this one's going to be really good. I'm excited to pour into it. But before we do that, it wouldn't be Whiskey Wednesday without the whiskey. So let's do some whiskey. What are we drinking tonight? It's kind of that theme, right? In April, you got to do the Eastery theme. And If you listened to the stream before, this is a repeat, but whatever. Bear with me. I walked into there's a kind of a big liquor store out here called Bevmo, and one of the workers there was like, "Oh, if you like whiskey and you like Bailey's, things along those lines, you have to check this out. It's called Buffalo Trace Bourbon Cream, and it is like chocolate and like an Easter cream egg and a little bit of whiskey at the end. It's like Bailey's and more. It's everything you'd want in your morning coffee. And if you could drink it every day in your morning coffee and nobody would judge, you do it." Or maybe I'm projecting. I don't know. Anyways, let's get a little bit on the pour cam here, and then we'll hop into the booth. We'll do a little reading. How's that sound? Get a little pour there. What are you all drinking tonight, if you are? Hopefully, you're all kind of sat back and relaxed and having a good day. It's been, one of those weeks. I've been really looking forward to kicking back on this stream and just reading a good story for you all. It's been a week already, and it's only Wednesday, right? It's hump day. So let's get over that hump. Enjoy a beverage and a story, all right? Oh, that is super tasty. And let's jump over into the booth and start our story, shall we? I'll meet you right over there. Don't leave. Just take me a second. I know it's a long walk, but I'll meet you there in a second. See you there. Oh, man, such a long walk. Let me tell you. Alrighty, and hopefully I'm coming through okay. If you can't hear me, or I'm too quiet, or if I'm too loud, let me know. I can adjust that on the fly. But it should be good. Should be good. I think I have it dialed in now. Alrighty. Boopity boopity boop. Alright, a couple things before we start as I pull up the story here and go through our story is on Twitch. There's ads that are played. Let me turn actually the volume. Can I turn the volume down? Oh no. Hold on a second. Let me go turn the music off because it's going to destroy the vibe. Give me a second. There we go. Normally I have a button that turns it off, but it wasn't working for some reason. Oh, now it's working. Of course, right? After I get up and move, now it's working. But anyways, back to what I was saying. On Twitch, there's ads that play on the half hour and every hour. So when that happens, you're going to hear the Old Spice jingle, and that's our cue that people are in ad break and they can't listen anymore. So what I'll do is I'll stop what I'm narrating at that time. We'll pause, we'll chit-chat for a little bit if you're on other platforms, or if you're a subscriber to the channel, then you won't get the ads. But when the ad's over, we'll resume right where we left off. So there's that. One other thing that people like to do on Twitch and YouTube is keep me accountable. So every time I flub, as I reset the counter here and give myself a good one to begin with. There we go. You can type in exclamation point flub, and it'll keep a counter going. One of my mods likes to turn that into a drinking game, but I will warn you, drink responsibly, because sometimes I mess up a lot. So switch to water. Nobody will judge. We can't even see you. It's okay. Alrighty. Thank you again for joining me, and let's break into this by Phoenix McDonald. It's it's the first book in a multi-part series, young adult fiction. And our main star here that we'll see as we get into the actual first chapter, because I'm going to read through the prologue into the first chapter, it has a disability, which is really cool. So there's a little bit of representation in this story, which I always like. It's always awesome to see. So let's break into it. Prologue. Old friends and new beginnings. Malcolm Talent looked up from where he lay on the ground to see a blue sky of Lysomnus above him, bright rays breaking through gaps between the broad leaves of the trees above. His gift of traveling from Earth to this world had been passed down to him from his mother Ruby and countless generations of talents before her. He climbed to his feet and walked down to the smoothly pebbled path that wound through the greenwood, the expansive forest of this world, to say goodbye to his closest friend here. Let's start that over. He climbed to his feet and walked down the smoothly pebbled path that wound through the greenwood, the expansive forest of this world, to say goodbye to his closest friend there. Tears streamed down Malcolm's face as he faced the prospect that this would likely be the final time he would see her. Malcolm had been noticing signs in his son, Deacon, that indicated the boy would soon begin his own travels to Lysomnus. Once Deacon traveled for the first time, Malcolm would be unable to travel any longer. The loss of the gift was something Malcolm dreaded living without, but knew in his heart he must. He walked faster towards Thick Colpat, the home of the scrib. Malcolm couldn't bear the thought of wasting a moment of the time he had left. Malcolm had been friends with Berberus since the first days in Lysomnus. He met her shortly after first arriving in Lysomnus. He had discovered Thick Colpat, the home of Berberus's people, the scrub, while exploring. The scrub were people who closely resembled human shrubbery. When he first arrived in Lysomnus as a teenager, Malcolm had met a scrub girl about his age. She was shorter than him and covered in beautiful rose-colored leaves. Twigs formed her facial features beneath smaller leaves. Glowing orange eyes lit up her face. She showed him around and helped him to learn all about her people, the stewards of the greenwood, the widespread forest that covered much of Lysomnus's continent. The scrub grew and harvested much of the produce that the people of Lysomnus ate. They were also talented woodsmiths and crafters. Malcolm reached the end of the path and entered the Thick Colpat. He stayed here often while visiting Lysomnus. Most of the scrub were welcoming and friendly, although some were standoffish and not happy to see him. His mother said it had always been that way. Many of the scrub did not like humans, it seemed. Malcolm understood that not everyone was going to like him, especially in a world where he was the only human. He headed for the school, a squat building constructed of wood over a base of sand-colored stone. Berberus became a teacher after her travel year, the period of time when young scrub journeyed and learned about their homeworld after a sheltered childhood. Malcolm trailed a hand over the rough stone of the wall before he opened the door and stepped inside. He looked up at the elaborately carved ceiling, with designs added by every generation of scrub crafters. Voices echoed in the hallway from open doors along the hall. Most of the classrooms at the near end were approaching their travel year, but he would find Berberus teaching a new class of young children at the far end of the hall. She would remain their teacher until they, too, were ready to leave the Thick Colpat on their travel year to learn more about Lysomnus. Malcolm had timed his visit to Thick Colpat when classes would be finishing up for the day. He wanted as much time to spend with Berberus as possible. He had spent time with his friends all around Lysomnus as the end of his time here approached. Each one had been more difficult than the last, and saying goodbye to Berberus, his oldest and dearest friend, would be the hardest. Doors flew open along the hallway, and young scrub dashed out of the classrooms. The scents of jasmine, honeysuckle, orange blossom, and the green of fresh leaves filled the air, and the sound of rustling leaves swept up around him. The noise was soon drowned out by excited chattering as children covered scrub with leaves and flowers rushed past him. Berberus leaned against the doorway of her classroom, with her back to Malcolm, shaking her head and laughing, watching her own diminutive students hurrying away in the opposite direction. The youngest scrub always returned immediately to the dormitory, where they lived under the watchful eyes of scrub tenders. "Berberus!" Malcolm called out, hands around his mouth to be heard over the cacophony in the hallway. Berberus's rosy leaves waved when she turned in response. "Malcolm!" she cried, hurrying down the emptying hallway with her arms extended. "What a wonderful surprise! Malcolm eyed the vines that constructed her limbs warily. They were covered in small, sharp thorns. Malcolm shrugged to himself, unable to resist embracing his dearest friend. He winced a little when she hugged him. He treasured the pain of the small punctures today. It might be the last time he would ever feel them. "Is it time, Malcolm?" Berberis asked, her orange eyes meeting his. "I believe so," he said. "And I want to spend these final hours with you. If Deacon travels tonight, or before I am able to return again, I want to have a proper goodbye." "We must not spend these hours in sorrow, my friend," she said, carefully wiping his tears away. Her leaves were soft against his skin. "We will go to my rooms and have one of our famous discussions. Well, famous to us, at least." She nudged him affectionately with her elbow. "And bring some delectable selections from the dining hall," Malcolm chuckled. He carefully wrapped a companionable arm around his friend's waist as they made their way to the large building, where a congregate meal was served every evening. Carrying a tray laden with roast meat, savory vegetable bowls of rich stew, and sweet fruit, they made their way to Berberis's home in the dormitory. "Remember when I started teaching and telling my students all I learned on my travels, Malcolm?" Berberis said. "I do. Cassiope was none too happy with you. I've never understood why the scrub insists on keeping the outside world out and the children uninformed until their travels." Berberis looked away. She popped a piece of meat into her mouth. Malcolm waited patiently, knowing she was stalling for time. "Malcolm, you must understand. We scrub are a private people, and we have our reasons for keeping to ourselves. You know there are several here who are not happy because we allow you to visit and stay here." "Yes, but there is a very good reason for that. And for times I have met you outside of Thick Colpat and asked you to stay away." "I wish you would tell me more, Berberis. Perhaps I could have helped." She lowered her head, hiding her orange eyes. "No one, not even you, can. No one can, not even you. But please, let us move on to happier topics." "Well," Malcolm said with a proud grin, "I am very excited for everyone in Lysomnus to meet Deacon, my son." "We will be happy to meet him and extend him the same hospitality we have shown to his father," Berberis said, looking back up at Malcolm and smiling. "I know he will love it here, and we will welcome him. How could we not? He is the son of Malcolm Talent." They continued their discussion, reminiscing about their adventures of the past, visits to the other people of Lysomnus, and even some of the arguments they had had over the years. Malcolm told her of his stops to say goodbye to the other people of Lysomnus. Each one had been more difficult than the last. He had saved this special trip to see Berberis for what he believed would be his final visit to Lysomnus. The day he had begun traveling to Lysomnus, he had been suddenly clumsy, easily distracted, and overwhelmed by exhaustion, accompanied by a mild sense of euphoria. He was seeing many of those same signs in Deacon. As the last light outside began to dim, sorrow ached in Malcolm's chest. Tears swelled in Berberis's eyes. Each was deeply aware of the end of their lifelong friendship, not by choice, but by the limitations of Malcolm's bloodline. Finally, as darkness outside indicated the ending of the day, Malcolm stood up. Berberis looked up at him, tears spilling over and trickling down the leaves below her orange eyes. Malcolm felt the burn of tears in his own eyes. "Must you go?" she said wistfully. "It is inevitable, my dear friend. I have loved you and your world for my entire life, but my time here is at an end. I must give away to my son now. It is Deacon's turn to explore Lysomnus and learn to love its people." She smiled, tears spilling out of her eyes, trickling leaf to leaf until finally falling to the floor. "Of course, Malcolm, your son will be welcome here. I hope he loves our world and the people in it as much as you have. You have a kind soul. What else could the son of Malcolm Talent be but a kind and gentle person?" Malcolm reached out and grabbed Berberus by the hand, unmindful of the thorns which pierced his skin. "Please, walk with me to the edge of the thick coal pad to say goodbye." The walk was too short, and then they were embracing at the beginning of the path that led to the greenwood. Malcolm trudged reluctantly into the darkness beneath the trees. He struggled to restrain himself from looking back, knowing he would lose control of his emotions if he did. Finally, unable to stop himself, he turned, and the sight of Berberus watching him broke his heart. He buried his face in his hands and wept. He awoke sobbing back in his own bed. He muffled the sound by burying his face in his pillow. Linda slept peacefully in her bed across the room. The two of them slept separately, as those in his family always had, so wives and husbands would not become aware of their spouse's disappearance as they traveled to Lysomnus. Malcolm noticed Deacon was not normally his pleasant self the next day. The 16-year-old boy was irritable at breakfast, snapping at his mother when she spilled a little juice on his hand while passing him his glass. It took a sharp word from Malcolm before he would apologize. He seemed calmer after school, but was still petulant. While grabbing a snack in the kitchen, he broke a plate, swearing and stomping out of the room. Linda was visibly shaken. That evening, Deacon got into a fight with his girlfriend on the telephone. Something felt off to Malcolm. The day before he himself had traveled, he had been happy, even though he'd been clumsy and awkward. The feeling of buoyancy Malcolm had felt before his own travels seemed to be missing in Deacon. Malcolm wondered if he was wrong about the timing of his son's traveling. Deacon announced he was going to bed earlier than usual. That was consistent with what Malcolm remembered from his own experience. He remembered being exhausted, almost unable to keep his eyes open. Malcolm waited until Linda was asleep before creeping out of the room. He grabbed a decorative chair from the hallway and sidled into Deacon's room, turning the chair so he could sit with his arms resting on the back. Moonlight streamed in the window, highlighting Deacon's dark red hair and large freckles. Malcolm rested his chin on his hands and admired the features his son had inherited from himself and his mother. He realized he hadn't taken the time to notice in quite a while, not since Deacon had been a child. Malcolm wondered if this really was the night Deacon would travel to Lysomnus. Most of the signs had been there, so he waited patiently in the dim moonlight. It was important to be here if Deacon did travel to Lysomnus, to help him understand traveling. His mother had been there for him, and he remembered just how much he had needed her calm guidance after returning from the sudden visit to a foreign world in his sleep. Before long, Malcolm was struggling to stay awake. He rubbed his face when he realized his eyes were drooping shut. Staying alert was hard work in the quiet hours of the night. At last, he lost the battle, chin still resting on his crossed arms, snoring softly. He didn't notice when Deacon disappeared, the blankets settling into the empty space where the boy's body had been. A few minutes later, Deacon reappeared in his bed. He sat up with a loud gasp, bringing Malcolm to his feet. He caught the tipping chair before it could clatter to the floor, then sat on the bed and gripped his son's shoulders firmly. "It's okay, Deacon. You're home now." The boy looked up at his father, eyes wide. "Dad, I had the craziest dream. I was in another world, and it was like I was actually there." "You did go to that world, son. It wasn't a dream. Let me explain everything to you." Malcolm looked into his son's wide blue eyes and took a deep breath. "All the members of our bloodline, the Talents, have a special ability. We call it traveling. We leave Earth at night in our sleep to visit another world called Lysomnus. Lysomnus? What do you mean another world? I believe so, son. From some research, I believe the name means friends of sleep in some combination of Greek words. Lysis is an examination of friendship, and Somnus is the Greek god of sleep. We might never know who gave it that name. Are you saying I physically traveled to another world? Deacon said incredulously. You've got to be kidding me. Come on, Dad. You're telling me I went to another world in my sleep? That sounds like bullcrap. Now I'm supposed to believe it was real? Why wouldn't you tell me about this? Deacon, Malcolm said, trying to be patient. If I sat you down yesterday and told you to prepare to travel to another world in your sleep tonight, would you have believed a word I said, or would you have thought I was crazy? But if I'm making it up now, how did I know what happened? Deacon pulled his knees up under the blankets and laughed against his crossed arms. But the answer is yes, Deacon. Your body was gone from Earth and appeared on Lysomnus. Did you meet anyone while you were there? Talk to any of the people who live there? Deacon grimaced. There were some strange animals there. They made noises. Maybe they were trying to talk? Malcolm frowned. Animals? I don't know of any animals that talk in Lysomnus. Describe them to me. Well, Deacon said, twisting his fingers together, they were tall and muscular, but they kind of looked like those silly little brown animals that pop up and look around on nature shows. Groundhogs? I don't know, or kangaroos, but they didn't hop. They just made funny noises, and they kept waving their arms all over the place. Malcolm tented a hand to his forehead, frustrated. He took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. I don't know why you look upset, Dad, Deacon said. They were just dumb animals. When I tried walking down the road, they poked me with sticks and started getting excited. I ran the other way to get away from me, but I could feel pokes and smell the dust. It was so real. Malcolm's face was burning, flushed with anger. Deacon, those were not animals. They are people, called the Cadavera, and they communicate using sign language. Who thinks giant groundhog squirrels are going to try to talk to them? Although I don't know how you call them people. They're giant, hairy animals that carry sticks and can't even talk. Deacon, just because you don't understand them doesn't mean you have the right to decide they aren't people. You will be traveling to Lysomnus most nights frequently from now on, and part of your responsibility is to get to know the people there and treat them with dignity and respect. He took a bracelet of heavy silver links from his own wrist and held it out to his son. You need to put this on. And that sound is the ad break on Twitch. So we're going to take just a little break until that is over, and then we'll resume right where we left off. And I'll catch up with you guys in chat. All right, what do we got here? Let me scroll through all three, because now I'm streaming to 3 places at once. It's crazy. Hearthside. How's it going? Check out Hearthside Gaming on Twitch as well. He's also an audiobook narrator and streamer. Does a lot of the creepy stories, horror stories, a lot of other things too, but primarily when I'm listening, I'm usually hearing those. So, and he's really good at it, so check him out. Unknown Soul, how's it going? Thanks for the lurk. Centurion, thanks for the lurk there as well. Appreciate it, buddy. The number one black hat wearing Australian streamer on Twitch, Centurion. Check him out. You can still hear me on Instagram. Good. Yep. Okay. And then, hey, Tim, how's it going? Thanks for joining me on Instagram there. Hopefully everything is coming through all right. This is badass, Justin. Yeah, it's a good story. I like it. I like it a lot. And Author Christie, hello on Instagram as well. Let me catch up on YouTube. Okay. Hello to everybody there on YouTube as well. Okay, I think I have caught up. And ad break ended. Well, look at that. It's perfect timing. So let's resume our story. Hopefully you're enjoying it. You're all enjoying it so far. And then here at the end, I'll go ahead and post a little bit of information about the author and their website and where you can pick up a copy of the book if you like what you hear so far, so you can continue the story. All right, so let's pick up the story here as Deacon is talking to his son. Here we go. This is beautiful. It must be worth a fortune. Deacon held it up in the air and it clinked softly, gleaming in the moonlight. It's called a steek. Steeka? Deacon said. Malcolm spelled it for him. It's a special talisman that keeps you from traveling every night. Deacon clasped the steek onto his wrist. It fits. It always fits any member of our family who wears it. Why would I want to keep myself from traveling, Dad? It's to keep you from traveling in case you need to stay here on Earth. Next, Malcolm pulled out a small crystal cube from his pocket. A small flame, bright blue at the base and fading into yellow at the tip, flickered inside. This is the Halfreeze. You can heal wounds and injuries with it. Wow, Deacon exclaimed, taking the cube from his father. It's cold. One more thing, son. Everyone in our family eventually develops some kind of power. Deacon looked really excited for the first time. Power? What kind of power? How strong? Malcolm shrugged. There's no way to know. Some members of our family have developed stronger powers. Others have less. They're useful abilities, not things to be used against anyone in Lysomnus, Deacon. And when your power manifests, you have to practice getting better with it. You don't just master it the first time it shows up. Your abilities won't work here on Earth, only in Lysomnus. Deacon still looked excited. What's your power, Dad? Malcolm tried to relax, remembering how excited he had been when he first learned about the world of Lysomnus from his mother. I have the ability to make plants grow very quickly. Deacon looked disappointed. I don't think lightly of my skill, son. I helped the scribe immensely, and even the cadavera, who grow and harvest grain. We developed new varieties of plants together and increased production to provide food for many people across all of Lysomnus. The scrib? Deacon looked confused. Oh, you'll meet them soon enough, Malcolm said. Some of my favorite Lysomnians are the scrib. As you travel around Lysomnus, you will meet many different people of all types. Please keep an open mind and be friendly and kind. The people of Lysomnus are intelligent, wonderful, and gracious. Different, Deacon said. You mean different, like those groundhog things? Deacon, Malcolm said firmly, stop calling the cadavera groundhogs. The people of Lysomnus don't look anything like Earth creatures. They're complex and incredible, each one of them. They deserve your respect and admiration. Do not waste this gift with a biased mind. I've been waiting to share Lysomnus with you, to be able to see it through your eyes. Don't let that vision be an ugly one. He sighed. You have been given an incredible gift, son. You'll be visiting an entirely different world, get to know and befriend new and interesting people, and taste new and incredible food. I've spent an enormous portion of my life there. Deacon blinked. Does Mom know about any of this? Malcolm shook his head. No, and you can never tell her. No one who isn't a genetic talent is allowed to know. That's why your mother and I sleep in separate beds, and why you and your wife will have to do the same. No one can know your body is gone at night. He reached out and touched the steek gently. I couldn't travel much when you were born, or your mother would have known, getting up with you during the wee hours. He chuckled, reaching and grasping his son's hand. Please, Deacon, take the time to get to know the people of Lysomnus. I know you will come to love them as I have. With each brew you visit, you will find more to love about this new world. Brew? Deacon repeated. What's a brew? Brew, Malcolm said. It's the Lysomnian word for village. The Cadaveran brew is Grassian. You were probably close to it if you saw them. I think I might have heard them make a sound like that, Deacon said, but mostly they just waved their arms around. How was I supposed to know? I suggest you visit them and take the time to learn their sign language so you can communicate with them, since you're going to be spending many years traveling to Lysomnus, Malcolm said. Deacon's eyes shifted. I'll definitely take the time to get around and meet more people. Why don't you just show me around, introduce me to all the people you know there? Malcolm shook his head, anguish deepening the lines in his face. It doesn't work like that, Deacon. Once the younger talent begins to travel, the older talent loses the ability. That's one reason I couldn't go with you when you traveled tonight. I had to wait for you to travel and come back. It was the same for your Grandma Ruby when I first traveled. Malcolm released Deacon's hand and patted his son on the shoulder. I'm glad you'll be traveling now. We'll be able to compare our experiences, and you can get to meet some of the same people I know. Please, take the time to enjoy yourself and be kind to the people. Appreciate your time there. It goes by a lot faster than you think. Before you know it, you'll be talking to your own child about their first travels. It's very important to take the time to explain everything in detail, as I've done with you tonight. Deacon snorted. That's a long way off. Malcolm put his hands on his thighs and pushed himself to his feet. Time goes by faster than you'd expect, Deacon. Treasure every moment, because before you know it, you'll be having this same discussion at your own child's bedside, and your time in Lysomnus will be only memories. All right, we've come to the end of the prologue, and we're going to be going into chapter 1 here. Hope you're enjoying it so far. And if you're on Twitch or YouTube, here's a little bit of information about the author and about the book, and where you can pick up a copy if you'd like. I'll catch up on chat here for a little bit, and then we'll jump into the first chapter. Oh, you caught me on a flub there. There's been quite a few. So, keeping me honest there, Harsad. I like it. Centurion said, and here's the most sexiest voice on the internet. I don't know about that, but go on. Just kidding. But I'll take it. I love this cover art, Hearth says. Yeah, it's really cool cover art. I love it. And as we get into chapter 1 and meet our main character of the story as we go forward, it'll make more sense to you. It's really good. Peanut butter and chocolate. Oh, you're doing the channel commands. Okay. I see what you're doing. I'm down for that. Good. That was just the prologue. Yeah, just the prologue. And then we're going to jump into chapter 1. So it's going to be a little bit longer of a read tonight, which is cool. They decided that you get a better feel for the actual overall story if we read the prologue and chapter 1. So here we are. That was a robust prologue. It definitely was. I think it sets up the world pretty well and gives you all this is kind of what's going on. So we know where we're going to jump into, right? Tim on Instagram said, sounds crystal clear. Good. Cool. And author not bad, lurking while making some posts. Awesome. And Shay keeping me honest there too by entering in a flub. Thank you, Shay. Thanks for joining. Glad to see you here on the YouTubes. Okay. All right. I will jump back in here and we'll continue with chapter 1 and meet our new main character. Yay. Remember when his dad said you'll be talking to your own son here in no time? All right. Chapter 1. Marcus. Marcus Talent turned from his computer and reached for a cell phone to check the time. The screen stayed dark. He must have put the phone on the desk last night instead of on the charging pad. He frowned. How was he supposed to text Leopold now? He placed the phone on the charger, waiting impatiently for enough of a charge so he could text Leopold. They'd planned to hang out today, with the cookout at Marcus's house that evening. It took Marcus longer to get ready for the day than most 16-year-old boys. His dresser was next to his bed to make it easier for him to get dressed. He climbed out of bed that morning and right onto the computer to finish his homework right away. Now he moved carefully back to the bed, opening drawers and pulling out clothes. He pulled on jeans and a t-shirt and unplugged the babyonic prosthetic arm that laid on top of the dresser. It was just one of the several prosthetics that he'd used since he lost his right arm, just above the elbow in a car accident when he was 9 years old. His right arm ended in a residual stump just below his t-shirt sleeve. He stood with a grimace and stepped away from his desk. It took a minute to put on his current myoelectric prosthesis. He might have forgotten to charge his phone, but at least he'd remembered to charge the prosthetic. It sensed his muscle movements, and with a few clicks of the controls on the prosthesis, it would perform most of the function his right hand could achieve. Marcus sat carefully on his desk chair to put on the rest of his clothes. He pulled a stiff blue cloth that resembled a hammock from the drawer with long canvas straps attached. One at a time, he pulled his socks over the end of the hammock and lowered it until he could rest his foot into it. With a smooth motion, he pulled the sock onto his foot. He put his other sock on. With a grimace, he lowered his jeans until he could lift his feet high enough to get them into the legs. After he pulled them up, he groaned in pain and pushed his left hand against his lower back. In the years since the accident, 6 surgeries had restored some of his ability to sit, reach, and walk, but he was still limited. He often found that pain and loss of mobility from the surgeries to be more limiting than the loss of his arm. It was necessary for him to use a cane to walk, and for longer trips he sometimes still used a wheelchair. Marcus had taken pain medication in the past, but his doctor and parents weren't comfortable with that. Instead, he'd learned to adjust to living with the pain and use tools to offer accessibility when needed. He used a long shoehorn to slide his feet into tennis shoes with the laces already tied, then grabbed his cane. He almost tripped over his own cane while hurrying down the hall to the kitchen. He wondered how late he was for breakfast. Marcus's mom was a nurse and occasionally worked weekends, and still insisted on making breakfast for him on the days she worked. She hadn't called him, so at least he wasn't too late. "There you are," Marcus's mom, Kate, said when he entered the kitchen. "By the way, I forgot to grab bacon at the store yesterday, so I was only able to make pancakes." He looked at his phone. The battery had gained a sliver of charge, so he sent Leopold a quick text. "You still coming over, bro?" "You know you don't have to do that. I can make my own breakfast." "I know, Marcus. I do it because I enjoy it, and while I still can." She set his plate on the table, then reached up and grasped his face in her hands. "Look how tall you are. You're growing up too fast." Marcus put his hand over hers. It felt odd to look down at his mom. He'd passed her in height over the last year, and it still felt strange to be taller than her. They shared the same hazel eyes, delicate bone structure, and light brown skin. He was glad he had her dark hair, too, instead of his dad's dark red curls. It hurt Marcus's heart to see the burn scars on his mom's face and neck, a memento from the same car accident that had disabled him. She gave his face an affectionate shake and pulled him down to kiss him on the cheek before letting him go. "I really appreciate it, he said. "No one makes pancakes like you, Mom." She scoffed as she turned away, but the hint of a smile quirked at the corner of her mouth. His cell phone vibrated. "On my way." Marcus plugged the phone into the charger on the counter. A rumble vibrated through the house as Marcus sat down to eat. "What's that?" "New neighbors, I think." His mom straightened her scrub top as she came back to the kitchen. "Now, where did I put my purse? Oh, there it is." She grabbed it off the table and patted Marcus on the shoulder as she walked past him.
I'm only working an 8-hour shift today, so I should be home in plenty of time for the cookout tonight.
Bye, Mom, he called after her. After he'd finished eating, Marcus set his plate in the sink and made his way out the door to check out the new neighbors. Taking a seat in the chair on the porch, he propped his cane against the wall. Several people carried furniture from a long truck to the house. His own driveway was empty. His father usually left early for work. Deacon Talent worked most weekends and wasn't home often. A pretty girl with long, wavy black hair came out of the house and glanced in his direction. She considered him with dark, angular eyes and then smiled. Marcus smiled back. He felt a faint sense of alarm when she started walking in his direction.
"Hi," she said. "I'm Sadie, your new neighbor. As you can see," she laughed self-consciously, gesturing toward the commotion next door.
"Hello," he replied, embarrassed as he heard the shakiness in his voice. He found it difficult to talk to new people, particularly kids his own age. Their discomfort around his disability made him nervous.
"I'm Marcus. Welcome to the neighborhood."
"Thanks," she said, her face lighting up with a smile. Marcus felt his heart speed up a little. He worried she would hear it thumping, even though he knew that was ridiculous. A woman who looked similar to the girl called her name, hands on her hips.
"We need your help here, Sadie."
"Oh, I gotta go," she said, a flush climbing her face as she looked over her shoulder.
"Be right there, Mom,"
she called. "Sure," Marcus replied.
"Hey, we're having a cookout tonight. Why don't you and your family come over and join us? Kind of a get-to-know-the-neighbors kind of thing?"
Sure. That sounds great," Sadie said.
"I'll mention it to my mom and dad."
She turned and trotted back toward the truck. Marcus rubbed his left hand on the side of his face, then rested his forehead in a shaky palm. He was surprised by his boldness, inviting Sadie and her family over. He was normally introverted. Leopold was the only person he typically hung out with. Other kids hadn't always been very nice to him. As if thinking about his friend had conjured him out of thin air, Leopold rode into Marcus's driveway and parked his bike on the front porch while glancing at the activity next door. "Hey, bro," he said, a broad grin dimpling his cheeks as Marcus smiled. Leopold was the polar opposite of Marcus. He was shorter and stockier, with bright blue eyes and messy blonde hair. "New neighbors?" he asked, climbing the stairs. He stood in front of Marcus and shadowboxed the air, hopping from foot to foot. Marcus leaned to one side, trying to see around Leopold. "Yeah, they're just moving in today." Marcus continued to watch the family walking back and forth from the house to truck. It looked as if all the furniture was in the house. Everyone was now moving boxes. Sadie walked down the ramp at the rear of the truck, carrying a cardboard box with "kitchen" scrawled across it in black marker. A younger boy followed behind her. The plot thickens," Leopold said, seeing the look on Marcus's face as he watched the pretty, dark-haired girl make her way up the driveway.
Shut up,"
Marcus said, looking at Leopold for the first time. Leopold grinned, dropping into the chair next to Marcus on the porch.
"Have you met her yet?"
"Yes," Marcus replied, his face heating up as he struggled not to smile.
"Her name is Sadie. I invited her and her family to come by for the cookout tonight."
Leopold smirked.
"Oh, Sadie,"
he teased lightly.
"It's not like that."
The warmth of his flush deepened and spread.
"I was just trying to be nice. I'm sure my parents will want to get to know her parents too."
"Sure, I guess," Leopold said.
"And I'll be so happy to make her acquaintance."
He clutched his hands beneath his chin and fluttered his eyelashes. Marcus finally lost the battle and burst out laughing. Leopold always cracked him up. "Are you going to let your parents know about their extra guests?" Leopold asked.
"Oh, yeah, I should probably text my dad."
He looked around, then realized he'd left his cell on the kitchen counter.
I left my phone in the kitchen and it's charging. What is wrong with me today?"
"Come on,
Let's just go inside, Leopold said, handing Marcus his cane. Besides, we need to jump back into Elden Ring. He grabbed the door and followed Marcus inside, laughing when he saw his friend glance back. Once the phone was switched to the charger in the living room, Marcus texted his dad to let him know about the extra guests they'd be having. The boys sprawled out on the couch, game controllers in hand, lost in the lands between. Marcus struggled more than usual playing the game. It wasn't easy using the controller with a prosthetic, but he had learned to adapt. Today, however, he was doing worse than usual. Leopold kept glancing at him. "What's up with you today?" Marcus sighed, setting his controller aside. "I don't know. It's been a weird day. I feel off somehow. Not in a bad way, just strange." He picked up the controller and nodded at the television. "Come on, let's keep going. I'll do my best to keep myself together." Deacon's booming voice startled them a short time later as he entered the house. "Hey, can I get a hand here? There's a lot of bags to carry in." Leopold leapt off the couch, reaching back to catch Marcus's outstretched left hand and pull him to his feet. Snatching up his cane, Marcus followed his friend out of the living room to find Deacon hanging up his keys. Several reusable shopping bags lay on a bench by the front door. "I'll take these to the kitchen," Deacon said, running thick fingers through his dark red curls. "There's more in the car." "Holy cow, Dad," Marcus exclaimed. "How much food did you buy?" "Well, someone sprung a bunch of surprise guests on me at the last minute." Deacon loosened his tie. A grimace crossed his face as he noticed in the direction of the neighborhood house. As he nodded in the direction of the neighborhood house. I picked up burgers, bratwursts, some hot dogs. Are you sure they're going to want to eat with us?" Marcus saw a puzzled look across Leopold's face, even as he felt his own forehead crease in confusion. What does that mean?" "Well," Deacon hesitated, I don't know if burgers are the kind of food their people eat, Marcus. Did you see them?" "You can't be serious. That's racist, Dad," Marcus said. "You should know better. I'll go and tell Sadie to forget it." He started to walk out the door. Marcus was disgusted. Deacon grabbed Marcus's shoulder before he could leave. "Just wait, Marcus, I'm sorry. I spoke without thinking. You know what, I'll go over there myself right now, introduce myself and have a conversation. I feel like a real ass." Deacon was rambling, and Marcus could tell he was embarrassed. The strange sense of cheerfulness Marcus had been feeling all day made him relax and want to cut his dad a break for what he'd said. "You boys bring the rest of the stuff in. I'm sure your mother will be home soon." Leopold followed Deacon out and grabbed more bags. Just as he was climbing the porch stairs, Marcus's mom pulled into the driveway. Kate stepped out of the car and greeted the boys. But when she saw Deacon standing in the driveway of the house next door talking to Sadie's parents, she walked over to join them. Marcus and Leopold returned to the house. "Wow, I never took your dad for that kind of person," Leopold said, breaking the uncomfortable silence. Marcus began digging through the food in the bags. "I didn't either." He screwed up his face, thinking hard. "Though, I don't know if the topic has ever come up before." "Well," Leopold said, gesturing at Marcus with a blue and white package, "at least he got Oreos. Everyone likes Oreos, don't they?" Marcus laughed and snatched the package out of his friend's hand. "Let's take all this food out to the deck," he said, pointing at the bag of bratwurst and pre-made hamburger patties for Leopold to carry out, while he stuffed the Oreos back into the bag with several kinds of chips in it and followed his friends outside. "Why don't you sit down?" Leopold suggested when the food was on the table. "I'll go back for the rest. You need to take a break so you can sit and visit with everyone. And Sadie." Marcus swung his cane at Leopold as he went back to the house. He was secretly relieved. With a sigh, he sat down and opened a bag of Fritos. Crunching some of the corn chips, he leaned back and relaxed. Leopold brought out another handful of bags just as Marcus managed to lose grip on the chips and dump Fritos all over himself. He couldn't help but laugh as Leopold snatched the bag and rescued the chips that were left. Marcus began to pick the last ones off himself and put them on the table. Deacon opened the gate next to their garage and escorted the new neighbors to the backyard. Sadie hopped up the steps and took a seat next to Marcus. "Hi." "Hey," he responded, scrambling to think of something to say. He grabbed the package of Oreos in desperation. "Want a cookie?" "Ooh, Oreos," she said, grabbing the package and tearing it open. "I love these things." Twisting one of the chocolate cookies in half, she scraped off the white icing with her teeth. With one crumb-covered finger, she pointed at the package. "You'll probably have to take these away from me." Marcus laughed. "I eat them the exact same way," he said. "Weirdos," Leopold said, dropping into another chair with a sigh. He set several cans of soda on the table. "Oreos are supposed to be dunked in milk." "Blech," Sadie grimaced. "Then they get all soggy and half of the cookie falls into the bottom of the glass." Marcus and Sadie finished together. They looked at each other wide-eyed and laughed. Leopold rolled his eyes and cracked open a Dr. Pepper. "You two are going to get along just fine," he said, after taking a long swallow. His cheeks puffed out as he belched. "Nice," Marcus said. Sadie laughed again. "Incoming," Leopold warned under his breath. Marcus looked up to see Deacon and Kate walking toward the deck with Sadie's parents, and the young boy Marcus had seen Sadie with before. Marcus noticed Sadie's mom and dad looked slightly uncomfortable. "Hello, Leopold," Kate said. She shifted her gaze to the pretty girl sitting next to her son. "And we haven't been introduced." "Mom, this is Sadie." "Hello, Sadie," Kate said graciously, holding out one hand. Sadie raised her own, and Kate took it, folding her other hand gently around it. "It's so lovely to meet you. I'm Kate." Sadie smiled shyly while Deacon ushered Sadie's parents up to the table. Marcus looked at them curiously. Sadie took after her mother, with the same pale golden skin and dark eyes, but the other woman's hair was straight. Sadie's father was a compact man with short, neatly styled black hair tinged with gray. Her younger brother looked like a miniature version of Sadie. Deacon's formidable bulk overshadowed all of them. "Marcus, Leopold, this is Sadie's dad, Travis Kim, and that's his mom, Uni." "Yumi," the woman corrected him gently. Deacon frowned. "I'm so sorry," he said. "I've just never heard it before." Marcus and Leopold exchanged glances, while Sadie shifted in her chair. "It turns out Travis is a homegrown American, born in California," Deacon said, clapping a large hand to the shorter man's shoulder. Katie looked at her husband sharply. Sadie cleared her throat and looked at Deacon, a flush creeping up her face. And that sound means we're hitting another ad break on Twitch, so we're going to pause here just for a second. And when we come back from the ad break, we'll continue the rest of our story. And it's almost to the end here. We got about another page or so. So we're coming up to the end of chapter 1. How are you liking it so far? I think it's pretty good. I love the teenage awkwardness that's going on, and the Oreo conversation, because who doesn't love Oreos, right? I'm with them. And you don't need milk. No rules with Oreos. You eat them how you like, right? All right, let me catch up with chat while we take our break here. All right, let me catch up here on Twitch, since it's right in front of my face. So can Marcus ever really sleep? I missed some of the opening. I don't know if it affects their sleep or not. I would assume that it sounds like when they disappear and go into the new magical world, time passes slowly on Earth as opposed to in Lysomnus. So I think they can come back and still get a full night's sleep. I think is how I'm interpreting that. I dig the way the author represents Marcus's physical challenges. Yeah, it's pretty cool, huh? It feels accurate and everyday, if that makes sense. Absolutely. Absolutely. Leopold seems like a real one. Yeah, I like Leopold too. He quickly grew on me. I thought that was an Elden Ring shirt on the cover. Yeah, that's right. Gamers unite, right? All right, Unknown Soul, I think you're already probably gone because I'm just catching up on chat, but thank you for joining the stream. Appreciate you being here. All right, let's catch up on Instagram. Okay, Tiffany joined and started following. Thank you so much. Hopefully you're enjoying the story so far. And hey, Mickey, how's it going? I think we just started following each other again on Instagram, but hello there. Hello there. We'll have to catch up. Let's see here. Hey, Steve! Steve! Sounding good, my man. Well, thank you. You are all too kind. That Old Spice whistle get you? Yeah. It's how I know there's going to be an ad break, right? That's how I know. Which whiskey are you enjoying tonight? I missed the beginning. We are enjoying all month. It'll change here next week, actually, for the new month. Been enjoying some Buffalo Trace Bourbon Cream, and it is tasty. It's I don't know if it does justice right here, but it's kind of like, it reminds you of Bailey's, or like a chocolate cream egg in Bailey's, and then like a nice hit of whiskey at the end. It's like Bailey's and more. It's a nice, delicious drink for the month, as it were. I've been enjoying it heavily. Recommended to me by one of the employees at Bevmo, which is kind of like a big liquor store out here. I don't know if it's a chain or not, so I keep explaining what Bevmo is, but it might be elsewhere. I don't know. But it is tasty, and it looks like our ad break is finally over on Twitch, so we can resume our story and finish it up here. Alrighty. As we jump back into it. Tasty, it is tasty. I just picked up some, oh man, how do you say that? Because I know how it's like spelled is not how you say it. The Glendronach 23. That's a bit of a splurge. 12, not 23. Oh, okay, the 12. Oh man. I wish I knew how to say that one. I've got some of the other names down, like the Glenfiddich, not Glenfiddich, you know. Ardbeg, Lafroig. But some of them still escape me. There's so many, which is the great part. There's so many to try. Alrighty, let's jump back into the story, because otherwise I'll sit here talking about whiskey and scotch all night, which is part of Whiskey Wednesday, but really it's for the story, right? All right, let's jump back into it here, as Deacon is doing a terrible job introducing the parents here. Sadie cleared her throat and looked at Deacon, a flush creeping up her face. My mother is also an American, and my brother and I, too, were born in California, she said stiffly. She immigrated from Korea and became a U.S. citizen. Marcus heard a note of pride enter her voice as she spoke. I apologize for any assumptions, Deacon stammered. I'm going to go light the grill. He sidled across the deck. Oh, excuse me. I'm clicking on stuff over here, sorry. Steve could tell us how to say it. He could. Tell us, Steve. All right, he sidles across the deck. Sadie grabbed the younger boy's hand. And this is my brother, Stephen. Pointing around the table, she began signing to Stephen. He was born deaf, so we can speak with him in sign language. Stephen smiled at them and signed something. He says hello, and please pass the Oreos, Sadie translated. They all laughed together. Marcus noted Deacon had turned away from the grill and was staring at Sadie and Stephen, frowning. When he saw Marcus looking at him, he turned back to the sizzling meat. Marcus and Leopold stood and shook hands with the Kims before introducing themselves. Marcus was so embarrassed by his father's behavior. He would have never expected his father to exhibit such racism in the way he had today. He noticed a look of consternation on his mother's face as well. He guessed his parents would be having an uncomfortable conversation later that night. Marcus noticed, as they all ate, that the Kims occasionally glanced at his prosthetic arm and cane leaned against his chair, but they did not stare or ask questions. He felt more at ease with Sadie and her family than he had around other people in a long time. He had just taken a big bite of his burger when the remaining half of the patty slid from the bun and landed in his lap with a plop. Ketchup and mayonnaise splattered everywhere. Marcus couldn't help but laugh at himself, and Sadie giggled with one hand over her mouth. Leopold, of course, chortled at Marcus's predicament, even as he grabbed the roll of paper towels and handed a few to Marcus. "Got a little something on you there, bruh," he snorted. "Thanks," Marcus said, trying to scowl but unable to keep a straight face. Marcus looked across the table to see Deacon watching him despondently. He couldn't imagine why his dad would be upset about his son dropping a hamburger on his own lap. Maybe Deacon just felt bad about all the faux pas he had made with Sadie's parents. By the time everyone had finished eating and the food was put away, Marcus found himself yawning. Deacon rested a hand on his shoulder. "Maybe it's time for you to head to bed, Marcus. You look exhausted." Marcus caught a melancholy note in his father's voice. "I am pretty tired. Maybe I will after our guests are gone." Yumi overheard his last remark and stopped at Marcus's side, motioning to Sadie to come alongside her. "It's time to say our goodbyes, Marcus," she said. "You're tired, and our families will have plenty of time to get to know each other." Sadie smiled at Marcus and said goodbye to Leopold. She followed her family through the gate and the fence back to her new home. Leopold elbowed Marcus gently. "That looked like a pretty special smile. I think she likes you, my man." Marcus shook his head. "She's just being nice." He did like Sadie, even though they had just met. She was funny and really nice. He'd hoped he'd get another chance to talk to her the next day, since it was Sunday, before going back to school. His dad would be working, so there wouldn't be any awkward interactions. Leopold walked toward the gate in the light shining from the back of the house, following his shadow across the grass. He turned back as he left the yard. "Talk to you later," he called. Marcus grabbed his cane and made his way inside. He made sure to set his phone on the charger this time, and then changed slowly into his shorts, not bothering to remove his shirt. He was so tired he could barely keep his eyes open. With a sigh of relief, he turned to his bed and had just enough time to pull the covers back before collapsing onto his pillow. And there you go. That is the end of Chapter 1. And the end of the introduction to our book today. So I'm going to go ahead and jump back to the desk, and we'll talk for a little bit, and then end the stream shortly thereafter. So see you there in just a second. Maybe. There's the button. Oh, don't forget the whiskey. Can't forget that. Yeah. Woo. All right. All right. That was a good story. I really like that one, and I hope you all did too. And that was A Discovery of Talents by Phoenix McDonald. Really good story. Really good story, and I'm liking it. I have to pick myself up a copy. That's the only bad thing is, like, reading, like, a lot of these, like, you cliffhang yourself, and you're like, but what happens next, right? So you end up buying the book too, right? Because why not? Applause, Stephen says. Well, thank you. Thank you for suffering through that with me, y'all, as I blundered through it. But I appreciate you all being here. And thank you again to Phoenix McDonald for being brave enough to submit your chapter to read on Whiskey Wednesday. I think it was really good, and I hope everybody enjoyed it. One more time, for everybody that's there on Twitch and YouTube, here is a little bit about the author, about the book, and where you can pick up a copy if you liked what you heard tonight. And on Instagram there, since
you don't get any of those fancy things, I'll just post the link here for you. That's where you can pick up the book. And if you want to check out a little bit more about the author, since it doesn't let me post the whole bio in there, unfortunately, there's like a character limitation on Instagram on what I can put in there. You can check out their website there and read all about them. Anyways, that is the end of the stream. The next stream, it'll be a new month. Yay! And let's see here. What do we have coming up next? In May, that'll be the 7th, will be the next Whiskey Wednesday. Same time, same Great Bet channel at 6 p.m. PST here. And we're going to have Destiny Unbound by Carrie Hollister. So that'll be a good one, I am sure. And then, yes. So on the, that's a couple of Wednesdays from now. So you don't really care, but my son has one of those band performances. So one of these Wednesdays I'll have to shift, but I'll let you know. Next Monday, though, I should have 6 p.m. PST. I'm going to be starting up the Macabre Mondays again, where I read some short science fiction or horror stories. They're usually horror, scary stories, or at least stories that make you think. And those have been pretty good so far, and I need to get back into those. So I've cleared up a couple of things for my schedule so I can get back into those. So next Monday, 6 p.m., same time, we'll be doing Macabre Mondays, where we read some horror stories or some science fiction stories. So looking forward to that one as well. Thank you again so much for joining me and really just being here and listening and supporting the channel and these great authors that submit their stories. Thank you so much. And we'll talk to you guys next Monday, but I will be here Wednesday. Next Monday, 6 p.m., followed by Whiskey Wednesday. That Wednesday at 6 p.m. I will see you all later. Have a good night. And until next time, bye-bye.